And I know I'm not allowed to call it an interview because I talk too much. So we are Conversations with Sandra, and I am so excited to have Suzanne with me today. We are such a funny pair. We've gotten to know each other over Zoom. And I forget, but you're in Texas, are you,
I
Suzanne?
am in Texas, dead center of Texas, about an hour northwest of Austin.
And I'm a couple hours east of Toronto in Canada. And this Zoom world has just been such an amazing gift from COVID. And here I am with my busy office looking, thank goodness I've got that little trophy there that says I'm the best coach. That makes me smile all the time. And the other is just, I have a lot of paper that matches up with all the stuff that's in my mind. And Suzanne, you've got an interesting background as well. What's the cause of that background?
Well, Sandra, thank you. I'm Suzanne Plumley, and I found out at the age of 51 that I was autistic. Now, I always knew I was very organized. And in order to keep myself organized, I have bulletin boards and charts and a bookcase back there and everything to keep my mind clear and focused. Because what can happen if I don't have all of these wonderful backgrounds is that I go in five different directions and I don't quite always know the priority. But now I have everything I need to know, a calendar up here, large size calendar up here, all of my bills here, because that's something that Aspie women can have a challenge with is executive function. So I create different help aids. I have calendar and all sorts of wonderful things there. And then, as I say, my bookcase and my certifications. And then I even have right over there is my book poster. And this is backwards, but I think you can get the idea. I
Five
wrote,
simple rules, I think it
yes,
says.
of course.
Five simple rules. And what's that book for?
Well, let me
You
tell you,
wrote it.
Sandra, that book I wrote after having five different relationships with people who didn't quite understand how to perceive me. And I kind of wrote it before I learned I was autistic, but then a lot of it after. And it's more about the rules. Rule one is see the woman from the inside out, from the heart out. In other words, don't look at her picture and say, I don't want her. Look at my heart and see me. The next rule is active listening. Don't just talk whenever you want to talk. Talk to me. I'll talk back to you. Has to do with active listening. Rule number three is be a smart money manager. And that I had a lot of interesting things about, kind of like my chart right here, knowing how to manage money correctly. Because we need help in making sure that we're paying our bills. So if you're not comfortable, how can I be comfortable? And rule number four is be legally, emotionally, and physically willing to date and do different activities. I'm not looking for someone who's a couch potato. I'm looking for someone who wants to go out and have fun, get in a kayak, get on a bicycle, go into nature, do some projects outside. And if you're feeling uncomfortable with who you are in your body, we may not be the best match. And then rule number five is don't be a couch potato. I'm not looking for someone, I'm sorry, that plays video games all day. I'm looking for great conversation. I'm looking for someone who has hobbies, who loves the outdoors, who loves to work with children, loves to do things. So, so and what I found, Sandra, is that when I look back at my life and my relationships up until this point, there were sadly men that kind of fit into this. And I had not done my core value evaluation of who would be best for me. I kind of just accepted people to come into my life. And that's not the best thing because Aspie women have to look at the red flags of life. Even more so than maybe even neurotypical women, because we do get taken for our naivete. And some women get so excited about finding someone that they throw all their core values out the window and say, well, it's attention, but it may not be the best attention. And you need to be aware. And that's why I wrote my book, so that women can understand that don't jump at the first relationship that comes your way. You need to really be careful that your core values are met.
That is great advice. I'm listening to you and thinking, oh, sure, well, at least you've got an excuse. Me, I just like squirrel, squirrel. Oh, somebody likes me. So we're not different. You're just probably have become much more aware because the gift of your autism that has kept you safe in its own way. Like everything in life, we have the downside and the upside, you know, that old coin that's up on its edge. And when you were stuck over in the autism of not even knowing you had autism, just wondering why you were so different, why people treated you different, even at home and your family. I mean, this happens to everyone. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. And I remember when we first got talking, you kept saying, but I'm autistic, but I'm autistic. And I said, stop labeling yourself. Yes, you know that, but we're not so different. What's my excuse? Yeah, I'm not autistic, so I'm squirrel.
Maybe a little ADHD, but that's okay because yes, it comes down to the fact of, and this is true for every woman. And I'm going to say something here too. For me, it's a fine line between being a traumatized daughter in a family that didn't understand the roles of girls in their lives and how girls are supposed to play into this world. Some women are great. They're lucky because they have they have mothers who worked all their lives. And therefore they were the role models. And my mom did work, and I told her this recently how wonderful one of her jobs was to try and spark a conversation. I told her I was so proud of her in that role. And I said, why did you stop? And she told me, but that's not the point right here. The point is that I had to be super aware of who I was because being of a woman who is on the spectrum, it's that much more likely that we're going to be taken advantage of. And if without that awareness, we can be taken for lots and lots of money, we can have our investments taken out from under us. We can get into a relationship that's not healthy, as I did. Although we were both unhealthy at the time and the marriage did end and we're good friends now.
And I'm so happy to hear that little piece, you know, because I went through a very nasty, nasty divorce 30 years ago. And it was brutal, absolutely brutal.
That's hard.
What you have, in my perception, my understanding, is that you can only handle so much chaos at one time, or where you're out in your job and that so much is happening, you can focus and do what you have to do, but you're exhausted at the end of it, where me, I would be vitalized, energized with the action around me. So then we start to see the different stresses that we go through as woman. And then the stuff that I go through just takes what you go through a little further over into the general woman population. I mean, we were talking about dating. So I have to meet people that are younger than me because the guys that are my age don't mostly think about being an old man, you know, like, what's that? What's that? No, I'm like you. I want some action. I want life. I want to live. I want to live my own life, not somebody else's life.
Oh, Sandra, there's so many things that I could say. First of all, yes, for me, for a relationship, I want companionship. I want a good conversation. And the guys that I have been meeting want the bedroom. And I'm like, no. Come out of the bedroom and have a relationship. Have a hobby. And not video games either.
How about both? How about both?
Well, yeah, let's start a companionship and build trust. That's another big factor for the Asperger woman. We already have a challenge with trust. Society doesn't see us the way we want to be seen. They see us as a disability. We have challenges, yes. And let's just go back for a moment to the part you were talking about Starbucks. I work on my feet. I love retail. Absolutely love retail. I love working at the window. I'm a drive-through register person for Starbucks, and I imagine myself in this most elaborate food truck, and I love it. And I talk to everybody, and I do really well when my adrenaline's going, and I have car after car after car after car. But what happens to me is I start fresh at 4:30 in the morning. And by the time 9 o'clock creeps up, I'm exhausted. Because what happens in that time is I'm great as long as we have cars. But as soon as the cars start coming on a regular basis, that's when I know that I'm starting to get bored. I'm starting to realize I'm tired. And so my work period of time for any one given job is 5 hours. I can't work the 5 hour day. And a lot of Aspie women can't work 5 hour days. So we put our everything 110, 120% into 4.5 hours, and then we want to be done. I want to go home. Last car, I'm going home. I'm going to my life coaching because I don't want to stand there idle.
Yeah.
I want to move on to the next activity. So if I had 3 or 4 jobs in a day, I love it because I'm busy the whole time. I don't want to be bored. That's probably my biggest problem is I hate being bored.
Yeah. And again, it's like when I was talking to Frank and it was Sandra's prison, Frank's prison. This is Sandra's world and Suzanne's world, almost type of thing, because it's so hard for you as an Aspie woman to be excusing yourself, if that's a terrible word to use, isn't it? It's not excusing yourself, but explaining yourself. Well, this and this and this, and I'm over here saying ditto, ditto, ditto. But the awareness level and the exhaustion level, and which parts are personality and which parts are Aspie or not Aspie, that, it's so hard to pull people apart. And we don't want to be pulled apart so much as we want to celebrate ourselves in our fullness.
That brings up a very important thing I was talking about yesterday to another friend of mine. And it was when I'm at Starbucks and I'm supported by society, and oh, I love that. When society can see me as the role I play and how capable I am of playing that role, I'm accepted, I'm loved. I even forget I'm Aspie because I go in and I perform a job. But the funny thing is that sometimes when it comes back to me trying to market myself and people are judging me now by the way my voice comes out or by the mannerisms I carry, then I get a little bit more nervous that society is looking at me. They're not looking at the job I can offer them, which is what I can offer them. I mean, I'm here talking to you and I'm very comfortable talking to you because I've grown accustomed to video and this is a very good place. I love speaking and I love helping. But there are times that I will, whoa, I really feel kind of Aspie there because now I feel like I'm under the microscope of people saying, who is she really? Is she really autistic? She speaks too well to be autistic. Is she on something? Is she taking medication? Is she taking drugs? No, no, no. I breathe. I find my inner peace. No drugs, no alcohol, no smoking. I am who I am and I love who I am. I want you to love me and I want to help other women go into society and feel loved too.
I'm going to say it. I can't resist. Ditto, 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 ditto. But we have our perceptions. I'm thinking they're judging me because what's that old fart doing thinking, why isn't she retired? What's she doing with the pink in her hair? Who is she to speak out so straight? And, we're all in there. But the beautiful thing is that you have come to know yourself and I have come to know myself and we're accepting ourselves. Now, there is the secret, isn't it?
That is the full
For everyone,
secret.
when we accept who we are in all our fullness, we can stand with our feet on the ground. And now we can use the healthy boundaries to say, if you're not comfortable with me, that's fine. That's fine. We're not all comfortable with everyone. There's a trust, there's a knowing. And really, when we come back to trust, here's my big bugaboo. It's not about trusting other people. It's about trusting myself. Can I go through this interview? Can I go through live interviews? I've been doing live videos for almost 3 years now. Can I do it? Am I going to have something to talk about every day? The trust is in myself, and it's live, so there's no taking it back. So if I mess up, I've messed up, and I have to be okay with that. And when I'm okay with that, I'm trusting that even when the mess up, I'll be okay. How many times did I say, oh, I'm going to go on a diet? Yeah, I'm going to, Sandra, you're going to do your diet. And then I didn't. I can't even trust myself. Why should I have to trust you? You see, this trust word is a very tricky thing. It's like the comfort zone that's our own little prison, isn't it?
It is. It's like, in some ways, it's like a glass wall. And it's like, okay, I can go so far. And then it's like,
And who created the glass wall?
Was that?
And who created that glass wall?
I did. And because that is my own personal trust. And for me, I don't run out of things to say. Now that I've found my voice, now that I've found my self-love, I just want to tell everybody that this is possible to be happy with yourself. I guess my trust falls apart when I come up against other people seeing me for my capabilities, not for anything that they can seem out of the ordinary, and trusting that they're going to enter my life in such a way that they're going to be authentically them. They're not going to catfish me with the belief that they're someone else who wants to come in and take something from me. They're going to come in as authentic people. So my trust comes from, are you going to show up authentically for you? Because I'm going to show up authentically for me.
Now, do you know what a tall order that is? Look at the struggle that you and I, even over the couple of years that we've known each other, even day by day, we see each other struggle and move, and we get another aha and we move it along. I mean, this is a lifelong journey. So when we finally became aware and started our change and our journey, and yet we want to judge others and say, if you don't come in authentic, we didn't even know what it was. And we probably still don't know what it is. So we're judging them. So it's very, very important that we just accept ourselves, but we also have to accept others. And if the little red flags come up and the boundaries and so on, and it's just not working, I mean, it's people that might want to be coached by me. It's straight talk. We're going to move quickly. And if you don't want that, then go and find somebody that's going to babysit you, because that's not who I am, you see. And I think that whole thing now is not about judging them. It's about they're not ready or they're not a fit with my style, because I can't turn myself inside out to be a babysitter, because that's not who I am. I'm not comfortable. There's lots of lovely coaches who are babysitters, and that's their style, what they love to do. And then you've got me, that's the, here it is. Here's what I'm seeing, intuitively, compassionately, but here's what it is. And you've experienced it. And who I'm hearing here with Suzanne is somebody who has experienced Suzanne. And it's okay. It's more than okay. And that, I think, is the beauty. If people could understand, and then just to go with our trust and our issues, and being very careful about judging, discerning and assessing, is it a fit? That's okay. But if you're judging them about, are you going to come in authentically? They don't even know what that is, because we still don't know what that is.
That's true. Very true. I think a lot of people these days struggle with their identity of who are they and what is their call to life? Why are they here on earth? And what are they doing here? And I was very fortunate back in 2018. I was a school teacher, or attempting to be a school teacher, and I ran into an altercation with a little boy who wanted attention from his mother, went home and told her that I hit him, and my teaching career was over. You can't teach once you have a record of hitting a child, whether or not it can be proven or not. That firing led to a car accident. The car accident led to me meeting the most wonderful mentor in this world. I have to tell you, who changed my whole being around 108%. I am forever grateful to her. Her name is Mary Morrissey, in case anyone wants to look her up. She is, let me just tell you, she's changed my world. And if you hear any stories about her, please go listen to her. Don't judge her. And that's important. Now, getting back to what I wanted to say, bless you, by the way.
Thank you.
One of those things where, let me tell you, we Asperger women, and I think everybody has problems. One of our other mutual friends said, hey, I could use those resources too. I have created a system called Aspie Bridge Builders, and it's an actual website, aspiebridgebuilders.com. And what I'm doing is I'm helping women who, like myself, became aware of their autism long after the school years ended, long after anyone even knew that women could be autistic.
That was late diagnosis, you call it, right? People who finally got a diagnosis so late and let their life make sense.
Yeah, and some women they don't even get professional diagnoses because, one, they're going and they're helping the children. All of the officials and doctors are helping the children. That's their main priority. We're kind of like a lost generation of women here. And so when you're a lost generation of autistic women, because they never knew back when we were going to school between, let's see, I entered my schooling in 1974, and I graduated high school in 86 and went on to become a college graduate in 1990. Autism still wasn't known, even with the boys in 1990. It was when I sent my first daughter, to preschool. Oh, there's autism in the boys. Do you know it took another 13 years before, 2000 to 2008. When my first daughter went to preschool and kindergarten, it was 2000. 2000, they were starting to recognize the boys. It wasn't until 2008 that girls actually could be on the spectrum. So the resources that we were offered as women who are already, most of us were children, most of us college graduates. Oh, you need resources? Why? Well, because we'd like to have a career other than motherhood. And we would like to know that society accepts us for the capabilities we have. So I have gone and created a 15 category area on all the different facets of your life. Now, Sandra is my speaking confidently, a queen of compassion, straight talk, and she helps the women with tactful communication. Because although I have always been pretty strong with my communication, even though my family didn't accept it at the time, I should have got up on the kitchen table and said, listen to me. But I didn't do that. I accepted the generational belief of what girls were. But I was always a speaker that was squelched because I didn't, in their eyes, I didn't measure up to what my brothers were doing. I didn't know at the time. I should have spoken up. But anyway.
But I'm just going to add in here at the moment is that for me, I think I was too energized for the family. And they were always saying, children aren't to be heard, just seen. And then I was the baby of the family, so I was too small. You're too little, too small. And I took that all in. So this powerful woman you see in front of you started out squelched as well. My description of what happened to my voice, even though I've always been speaking and teaching and singing, was that I had swallowed my true voice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I like to just see the similarities here and the challenges around it, and each of our journeys to come out of it. So it's quite unique and quite the same. The more they change, the more they're the same. The more they change, the more. And so I'm sitting here thinking, ditto, ditto, ditto. But my challenge was different because I was talking too much, or you're too noisy, you're too boisterous.
Yeah, and I just shut down. I became autistic women tend to become either chosen or select. It's either a inability to speak because they've been shut down, or it's called selective mutism. And selective mutism.
Wow. Say that one more time.
Selective mutism.
Wow, isn't that a beautiful?
Isn't that a beautiful word? I love that phrase. And what that means is that if I can't come up with the words, well, in my heart, I'm very compassionate. I didn't grow up with a compassionate family that understood me. So I took it to mean that I was going to be very careful with my words. Very careful. In fact, my favorite quote by Napoleon Hill is, think twice before you speak, for the words you use can plant the seed of success or failure in the mind of another. My favorite.
Say that one more time. Say that one more time, Napoleon Hill. And Napoleon Hill is the precursor to Mary Morrissey and Bob Proctor and so on.
Absolutely.
So say that quote one more time.
We know about Think and Grow Rich. And in a personal development for someone who is speaking about it, because I had issues with my family, my quote is, think twice before you speak, for the words you choose can plant a seed of success or failure in the mind of another. I had the seed of failure planted in me for so many years that I eventually believed I was a failure.
And I had these seeds of silence. Don't, you know, isn't that interesting? When we can start to name the seeds, we don't have to keep them anymore. I think we have to assess them because you learned how to suppress yourself.
Yes.
Into the selective mutism. That is amazing. And because I learned to shut my mouth, we are also capable to think twice before we speak. And really, we're both very careful with the words that we use. And that, you know, if we're looking for, I've been texting with a fellow who's he's been angry for 35 years, I guess. And he says, and my anger is renewed. And I'm thinking, what a waste. He's carrying around anger for 35 years. I let it go. I don't know how. I wrote it on a paper and burned it, and that didn't work. Like, you got to do the work. You got to do the work. It's the work that's the journey, and the journey that's the joy.
Absolutely.
And you and I have both done it, and we continue every day.
Sandra, here's an interesting fact. After I got certified by BTI, Brave Thinking Institute, I didn't know I was autistic for another entire year. And I went into coaching with the belief of teaching people positive, supportive language, which means that I was going in to teach people how to have a conductive argument. Do you want to live in the city? Oh, no, I'd rather live in the country. I teach people how to work out differences of opinion, and I would teach people how to speak in a way that was so heart-giving, like, okay, I understand you are not crazy about my idea. Tell me why. Tell me more about your idea. Let's see if we can come to a meeting ground. So you and I are always been on the same parallel, because positive supportive language is the only way that we're going to get our country to start listening to each other instead of arguing with each other. And I'm so compassionate. I bring in positive supportive language whenever I can. And when I cannot come up, although my first clue to anyone who wants to know positive supportive language, turn your statement into a question. it takes off all the defense. I wonder who didn't do the dishes last night. Sounds a lot better than, Sandra, it's your turn to do the dishes. Why didn't you do them? Now you see that the whole tone is convinced. I wonder who didn't do the dishes last night. You know what I mean? It's an unblaming language. Yes, you can still get the point across. The dishes didn't get done, and I'm upset. But you're not doing it in an attacking way. And I would teach a lot of my friends how to do this positive, supportive language. And when you don't have the right words, that's when I would go into selective mutism. And it happened more at work, where people were yelling at me for doing the job wrong when I was trained to do it that way. So I'm like,
okay, I'm just keeping an eye on the time here, Suzanne. This has been absolutely amazing. Now you know why it's conversations with Sandra versus a series of questions. However, we did kind of talk through and we came up with the article. So for anyone who's saying, what are these two about? They didn't do any of that. It is Asperger's, and your mission is public perception of the capabilities of the autistic woman and raising the personal awareness of the autistic woman, so to the public and the personal. And the result that you had given me here is the enrichment activities that that's not the result. Personal confidence, celebrating personal gifts. There's where we're on the same page. No more hiding a life of joy.
And I can go over my missions very quickly. I have two missions. One is to help the Asperger woman understand her gifts. I have found my gifts, and my gifts make me the happiest person because I know how I can serve others and make them happy. And then I also have the mission of educating society to know we have gifts to give. Don't look at us with a critical eye. Don't see us as disabled. See us as different abled. We're problem solvers. We can help you solve your problems. And yes, once society can see us and we can walk over that bridge to neurotypical world with our heads held high, then we can perform so much better. But if we're walking over that bridge and we're not confident that you're going to accept us, what's going to happen? We're going to go into that meltdown. We're going to go into that burnout because we're already in competition with whom you decide is right for your organization. But if you can see us for our hearts, for our capabilities, for our zest in life, and even sometimes childlike zest for life, you're going to see that we have so much to offer. Well, can I tell you, that's why you and I are great friends, Sandra, because we have so much in common. You and I hit it right off from the first day we met because
we did.
We really had a lot of confidence. Like, yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like that too. And so you and I hit it off right away. And the only difference between you and I, and maybe there's not a difference, is just the way I see the world and the way Sandra sees the world. And we're coming at it from a slightly different angle, but in the end, we both want to serve to help you feel better. Sandra can help you speak so eloquently and solve your problems. I can help you find yourself so you can solve the problems. We're both on the same mission here, really. We just want to help people and come confidently into this world and not be meek.
You know what? I think when anybody says, who are you? So many people lead with, well, I'm a teacher, I'm a this, I'm a that, with the labels. And I've just been so much the last decade or two, really, it's been over a long time, I'm a curious adventurer. What's that mean? That means, yeah, so once we have that, we can look at other people and ourselves with our mistakes, our failures, our ups or downs. If we look at life with wonder and curiosity, if I look at Suzanne with that big grin and say, what's making her smile and grin? When I see somebody with a different skin color or a different accent, sometimes they'll be upset with me. I'll say, where are you from? I'm Canadian. Yeah, where'd the accent from? Oh, well, no, that's from there. But it's out of wonder and curiosity, because I think cultures and people and different little ways, of being are so interesting instead. So curiosity and wonder. So we don't have to wonder about why, Suzanne. You've walked the journey personally, and you've risen above all of those conditions in society. You're feeling blessed. I'm feeling blessed. We are walking side by side. And today you are the torch bearer.
Yes, I am the torchbearer. I see it, as I was speaking earlier, I see it as two islands. And of course, the neurotypical island is a bit bigger than the neurodiverse, and especially the Aspie island. And what I do is, because I've walked the journey and I have felt the Mary Morrissey has this phrase that says the content of my life is the curriculum of my evolution. And what a great way to say that, because I have felt so many of the same things that you're feeling. And I've risen above that because I've come to have a mentor that can help me feel confident with who I am. And that's what I want to do for you. That's why I carry the torchbearer, because I'm not a therapist out there saying, it says here that autistic people should be able to do this. Can you do this? It says that autistic people can't do that. What about you? That's not what I'm all about. I have felt it. I have walked the journey you've walked. So I'm not going to sit there and say, well, the book says this, the book says that, because that's not what I'm made of. And so many women get tripped up by the fact that if you're not a book learner, then you're not really a helper. You can't help me. And that is probably my biggest misnomer. I spent 8 years in therapy, 5 of them on Zoloft. Nothing worked. I'm now on no medication at all. I'm out of therapist. I'm into a life coach that sees me. My life turned around. What about you? Are you going to spend another 8 years on therapy and depression medication? Or are you going to accept that there are people out there who can truly help you? Either myself as a coach, or Sandra as a communication helper, or any number of my other team leaders that can help you organize your home, find the fitness, do an activity that you love. I have so many different options. You tell me what you need, and we will find a coach. There are coaches that are still needed. So if you're listening to this and you would love to get involved in this great activity to help women come out of their shell, I would love to talk to you. The biggest one I'm looking for right now is someone who can be that home to school connection, because there are so many Aspie women out there that are pulling their hair out because they don't know how to deal with their own Aspiness, deal with perhaps a child who has autism and maybe ADHD, and function. And I'm looking for that home to school connection so that these children can grow up to be confident, not go through a lifetime of, and then get to adulthood and find out they're autistic. I want to help these children now. So if I can find a team leader that's an educator before, that says, I can connect the bridge, I can meet you at the top of the bridge, I'll be the torchbearer to bring the individual to you. I just need someone at the other end of the bridge to say, let me help you. And that's what my Ashby Bridge Build is all about. 30 minutes of finding out what the problem is, 60 minutes of creating a plan. And Aspie women, you can't sit back and expect these women to help you or these men to help you. You have to take the action steps. This is not all about getting the help and receiving it. This is a partnership to get you on a better life, because once they're gone, you still have to function.
And so we all have to do our own work, don't we? And we need a guide to help us through it. I'm just going to watch our time and wind us up. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Suzanne. Thank you, Suzanne, for the courage to release yourself. For the courage to release yourself. And now the courage to spread that joy and give other Aspie women in particular, but people in general, the opportunity to release themselves into joy as well. It's been wonderful having you here. What's your closing word for today?
Confidence, courage, take it and run, because you have the capabilities. As long as you can feel your heart beating, you can do it too.
Blessings, everyone. Goodbye.
Goodbye.